Welcome back, learners. We are here with a new video on how to install Active Directory on Windows Server. So, do you know what Active Directory does? Or if you have already an idea and you want to install Active Directory on your own computer and want to try it, want to use it, so we will go through it one by one because I started my video how to set up your virtual lab, how to install VMware, how to install Windows Server 2012 on that VMware, and last video was how to install Windows Server 2022 on the VMware. So we have done all this. You can go back and find my videos. You can learn. I will put the links of the videos in the description as well so that you can go and install your own VMware and try out yourself. Okay. So today we are going to learn how to install Active Directory on your machine. And basically the main objective of this video is to install Active Directory domain services. Okay, so we will go ahead when I start the practicals, you'll see to yourself how you can install the Active Directory domain services and we will put that into action. All right, so before we begin, what is Active Directory? Today many people would say Active Directory would be gone because there is Azure, there is cloud. However, learn this: if the Active Directory is not going to get old, it is basically an on-premise directory services. However, Azure provides syncing and many other tools like Okta, SailPoint. They rely on Active Directory. Moreover, if you have a in-depth knowledge, or I would not say in-depth, but if you have a working knowledge of Active Directory, then you can learn any other directory services, be it Azure AD or any other directory provisioning services. Okay, so what is Active Directory? Active Directory is a database. We call it AD in simple terms, and set of services that connect users with the network resources they need to get their work done. So first of all, it is a directory service. Directory is like a telephone directory you might have used, or a listing website you have used, where you have information about each and every person with their phone number. So if you need to dial a number, you can go to the directory, you can search for the user, search for the person, and you can find the phone number and you can call. But that directory is static, right? It is not updating on its own. Okay. However, with the term Active Directory, so it is kind of it is a database that keeps the records of users, computers, groups, and it is constantly updating. You can update it. It is not static. So the database or directory contains critical information about your environment, including what users and computers there are and who is allowed to do what. So it will control your login to the computer, it will control your access to an application or access to a folders. So we will deal with all these in upcoming videos. And Active Directory, what are the services provided by Active Directory? What are the services provided by Active Directory? Okay. So first is Active Directory domain services, which we will deal today in this video. Again, it is like a directory of users and computers. that you can manage. Active Directory Lightweight Directory Services is ADLDS, we call it. So, what is ADLDS? ADLDS is a mode of Active Directory that provides directory services for applications. ADLDS provides dedicated directory services for applications. How you can understand this? Suppose you have an application and you want to access the directory on that application. So this lightweight directory service, you do not have to install the complete Active Directory, or you do not have to call them, call any procedure. You can use this protocol, which is LDAP protocol, LDAP protocol, which is lightweight lightweight uh, directory access protocol, and you can view the I will say objects in the directory, okay, and modify as well, authenticate as well. So this we will also deal with. Now the third service that we'll talk about it is certificate services. So I'll remove this line, this document now. This is all copied from Microsoft, don't worry. The ADCS, or Active Directory Certificate Services, is the server role that allows you to build a public key infrastructure and provide public key cryptography, digital certification, and digital signature capabilities for your organization. So we'll deal with this as well in our upcoming videos, just to understand it is not only your user ID or password with which you can log in. However, it provides you a PKI, public key infrastructure, where your certificates will be installed on your machines through these certificate services servers, and you can access, because multiple applications or multiple functions of your computer, they will be dependent on certificates. You do not have to put maybe user ID and password each and every time. Federation services, Active Directory Federation service enables federated identity and access management by securely sharing digital identity and entitlement rights across security and enterprise boundaries. Now, what does this mean? So, in simple terms, now suppose you have an application running outside the Active Directory. You can actually federate that application with your Active Directory, and you can log in with your Active Directory credentials. These all terms you'll understand once we make another video, or we proceed with this video at least. Right management services is a security strategy for your organization by protecting documents using information rights management. Now you're authenticated, right? There is an identity and there is authentication and authorization. So identity and authentication is just like using your user ID and password. You put your user ID and password, you're authenticated. However, what you are authorized to use, it is decided by what rights you have on the data. So maybe there is a folder, there are files, and you are not authorized to use it. It won't give you that access. It can understand it is the identity that you have. You have your ID, you have your password, you are logged in. But are you authorized to use that data or use that service? So we will look into this in detail when we do a video on ADRMS. This is a new beginning, right? So I'm creating videos one by one. So we'll come back to our main topic, which is what is Active Directory Domain Services. Okay. So Active Directory Domain Services is a server role in Active Directory that allows admins to manage and store information about resources from a network as well as application data in a distributed database. ADDS contains a centralized directory that lets domain and users communicate. For example, when a user logs into Windows domain-based PCs, ADDS checks the submitted credentials and verifies whether they are IT administrator or regular users. Okay, so we will understand with this. Okay, now suppose this is your organization. Okay, this is your organization, and okay, so and these are your users. I don't know, and these are your users like user one, user two, and there are different computers: computer one, computer two, computer three, computer 4. Now suppose if this domain controller is not available, Active Directory domain controller is not available. So a user, when if you are an IT guy, so you go there and you create a user account on this machine. Okay. Then you create a user account on this machine for this user and this user. So it will be a tough task to do. So now suppose this user wants to log into this machine. Okay, so if you do not have a central repository, this user account needs to be created by an admin here. So an admin goes and creates an account for this user. Okay, however, now what if we what this Active Directory will do? So we have installed a domain controller. Okay, so it is a central directory. So it keeps an information about all these users, and all these computers. Okay, so everything is fed here. This has a repository. Now suppose this user wants to log into any of the machines, any of these machines. So what happens? These machines are integrated with or they are located in their information is located in the domain controller directory services. So these machines, when this user tries to log into any of these machines, so this machine has, if it is domain joined, it will check with the available domain controller information about this user. Okay, so and it provides you an authentication technique which is known as Kerberos. So Kerberos, using this Kerberos authentication, it will check whether the credentials, user ID and password provided by this user is correct, is matching with this or not. So if it is matching, and if the user is authorized to use this computer, he will be able to log in to this machine. Similarly, with all these machines, he can log in if the user credentials are correct, matching with the directory, and he is authorized to use these machines. Okay, so it becomes easy when you have thousands of machine, thousands of users. Their identities are created in the domain controller. The machine identities are, if the machine is domain joined, the machines will be there in the directory and they can use the authentication. Okay, and what this line says is, where users log in, the Windows domain PC ADDS checks the submitted credentials and verifies whether they are IT administrator or local users. So in roles like, there are user roles, there are admin roles. So this is the part of authorization, whether a user having the administrative role, what he can do on these machines, that is all defined through the Active Directory domain services. So let us move to our practicals and I'll show you how to install Active Directory on the machine. And I'm there. So First thing is, okay, um, preparing the server to install Active Directory. Okay, first thing is the server should have a static IP. Okay, what is static IP? If it is DHCP control, IP address will change on reboot, maybe on reboot or something. Okay, static IP, static IP where the IP address will not change. Address is pre-configured and will not change. Okay, why is it required? Because if it is a server, right, it has to, if this is a server, so the basic communication that happens is over the IP address, TCP IP communication. It is like IP address. Okay, so if this IP address change, these machines will lose connectivity. So this IP address has to be static, it has to be same every time. So we will first we'll look into how do we assign the static IP. So we go here, and maybe I will make it a full screen. No, not needed. Okay, let us do that, and we'll go to server manager. Okay, we'll go to local servers, NIC teaming, remote desktop. Wait, so IP address assigned by DHCP and IPv6 is enabled. So now you can see IP address assigned by DHCP, which is Dynamic Host Control Protocol. So what it will do, it will, if we reboot, the IP address will change. Okay, so we right click, go to properties, and go to TCP IPv4 and click on properties here. So it says obtain an IP address automatically, which is through DHCP, and obtain DNS server address automatically. So we are not going to do that. We will tell the server to use the IP address. How can you get IP address? You go run and go to command prompt, ipconfig. So IPv4 address, you copy it from here. Subnet mask will be 255. It will automatically generate based on the IP address. Default gateway, you'll get it here only on this machine. Default gateway is, that is basically your router's address. Okay, and DNS server, uh, you should put, is it's Google DNS. If you put Google DNS, it is okay, or it may use, um or maybe we will use the loopback address here, 127.0.0.1, and alternate DNS you put Google. Okay, this loopback address is, it will refer to its own DNS, and alternate DNS is, it will give you the internet connectivity. So you see currently the network is connected. If you click on OK and you click on close, this network went away, right? No internet access. However, in few minutes, it will, few seconds, it will refresh, and you see network connectivity is there, right? So we are done with setting up the static IP address. Now from the server manager, we go to, so from the server manager itself, we can install the Active Directory. So I'll mention it here. So now you have to open server manager. server manager and add roles and features. Okay, add roles and features and go there. Click next before you begin. Okay, so this is the normal screen that you get. You do not have to change anything. You have to just click next. So role based and feature based installation you have to select if you want to install Active Directory domain services. Maybe I make it bigger for you. You click next again. This is the name of the server that you have. Okay, what we'll do, we'll change the machine name. Okay, first. So because later if you do it, it will make issues. Um, I go to start. I go to settings, system, rename the machine as per my usage. So apps and features. Naming convention is very much required. It should be uniform so that you do not leave, do not so you do not have to like remember the names of the machine and you do not get confused. So this is a DC. Okay, so it is like lab underscore. I'll put lab DC domain controller. It is. Um, I'll make it PDC 01. Okay, so this machine is lab PDC domain 01, which means this is a lab machine and it is a primary domain controller. This is the first domain controller we are installing. The name is invalid. Sorry, I put an underscore there. Okay, so now it is renaming the machine and I have to restart it. It is a server, so maybe I put plant. Because if you are using server monitoring, any of these events which are unplanned or a reboot is happening, it will trigger a notification to the server management team. And you have to provide like a reason why did you reboot it. That is, so it is fast, the machine is up, and we go, and I'll put my password. So this machine has a static IP. Okay, so static IP. Okay, now this machine is renamed. So I click on add roles and features. Next, role based feature based installation. Next. So now you see this machine name has changed. This has the IP address what we set in the network adapter. You click next, and you have to install Active Directory domain services. You have to install Active Directory domain services. So include management role if applicable. You have to keep it selected. So what is it? It is installing ADDS, ADLDS. So lightweight directory services. It is automatically installing, as I told you. Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell. PowerShell is also the Active Directory module is installed for PowerShell so that we can control the Active Directory using PowerShell commands. Active Directory Administrative Center. We will tell you what this is used for. Now ADDS is snap-ins and command line tools. So we click on add features. These features would be added. You have to add a DNS server, right? So you click on DNS server. This DNS server will be used for your local machines to identify what domain, which domain controller, which machines are there, what machines are there, what domain controllers are there. So DNS server is required. Rest, we do not need to do anything because we are only dealing with Active Directory domain services. We click next. Hmm. Group policy management, rest, you do not have to do anything. It is automatically selected. I'm just checking if any server, any role that needs to be installed. No. So it is all by default. You click next. See, starting Windows 2012 R2, Azure is giving you this, Microsoft is giving you this notification so that you can use Office 365 with Azure Active Directory Connect, or uh, that is a topic that we have to deal with it before, because we are currently provisioning an on-premise Active Directory, which is the local Active Directory, and how we will move it to cloud, because Azure Active Directory is cloud, and we will look into it in another video when I am onboarding Azure, because it is, suppose it is like an organization which is running on-premise Active Directory. Maintenance cost is there, everything is there. Okay, so now Azure is coming up with the cloud identity, so we will look into it. Till then, we'll work with this on-prem Active Directory. Confirmation: restart the destination server automatically if required, and click on install. In actual environment, you do not have to check that. It should give you a notification whether the server should reboot or not, and you can control that reboot. So it is now installing everything. I'm not going to, as in earlier videos as well, I'm not going to skip or fast forward the video. Another service you can integrate is Okta, Workday. So we'll look into all these. Okay, so feature installation, configuration required, installation succeeded on LDAP PDC01. I'll close it. Okay, so now Active Directory is installed, but you see a yellow triangle there, notification there. So if you click on it, it will say promote this server to a domain controller. So now it, sometimes it is very confusing, right? Someone will tell you about what is a domain controller. So what is a domain controller? So it is basically the server where Active Directory domain services are installed. This is a domain controller. So installed, and a domain is configured. Okay, I'll mention it like that. All right. So this is what it is. So it is saying promote this server to a domain controller. So I'll click on it, and it will ask deployment configuration, right? As I told you, if if it has AD Active Directory domain services installed and it is, the domain is not configured, then we have to configure the domain. So what are the options here? Add a domain controller to an existing domain. We do not have existing domain. This is our first server. Add a new domain to an existing forest. No existing forest. So what we will do is add a new forest. Okay. Now root domain name. Now what is a forest? So forest is a collection of domains. If you have multiple domains, it is a collection, right? That we call a forest. Because we do not have any domain in collection. This is our first machine. So whatever we give, the first domain will become a forest as well. Okay, so maybe because I have a website um, provided on, so I'll put the root baikus.com. Baikus is I have purchased that domain. I have a domain with me, so that when we do Azure Active Directory, we can install custom domains. It will work like a company. Okay, so if you can put any name there, it is not required that you buy a domain, because I have the domain that I have purchased and I can manage. So I'll put that domain name. I click next. So it will do a check. Okay, so it is done with checking. It has checked the deployment bycus.com is the name, right? It went to the next step. Now, this is forest functional level and domain functional level. So if you click on it, you can go back. You cannot go up, right? Because now which what is the domain? Now suppose you have an Active Directory domain services running already on Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2002, and 2012. These are back data servers. So if you have an Active Directory installed on the old servers and you are putting an updated Windows Server and installing Active Directory domain services on it, so for backward compatibility, you can change the functional level. Okay, but you cannot increase the functional level because it is used for backward compatibility. So now suppose you have to install Active Directory on Windows 2022. So you will have to install a server Windows 2022 and install Active Directory. And to work with older versions of the server, you have to choose a back server. So we'll do it in another video. Don't worry about it. So domain functional level will remain Windows Server 2016. Right? So if we select 2012 R2, so it will give you an option for domain functional level to change. So if whatever the forest function level is, you can select your domain functional level. Okay, so I will keep it 2016 and Windows Server 2016. Now specify domain controller capabilities. Domain name system, DNS server. So this domain controller will have a DNS server in it and a global catalog. Global catalog is like you have a different Active Directory domain services running, a different domain is there, and this domain is also there. So maybe suppose I create a child domain like bycus.child.com. Okay, so what this global catalog does, it keeps the information from all the domain controllers which is available, whether it is a child domain, wh- uh, whether it is a another domain, so subdomain, whatever it is. So it will keep the records from all the domain controllers. Now read-only domain controller, we cannot make it a read-only domain controller because this is the first domain controller. So read-only domain controller, what it will do is it will fetch the information from a working domain controller. It will keep it with itself, but it will the data will only be read only. You cannot change anything. The only exception is you can change the password there. So type the directory service restore mode DSRM password. If there is an event like your server has failed, so you can do a restore, and for this you have to put a password. Okay, I'll put next. Now it will say DNS option, a delegation for DNS server cannot be created, you have to ignore it, no problem. Click next. Additional options, it will check for the NetBIOS name assigned to the domain and change it if necessary. So it took the name correctly, no problem. So we click on next. So it gives you the location of ADDS database, log file, and SYSVOL. So database folder will be C Windows NTDS, C Windows NTDS, and SysVol folder is C Windows SysVol. Okay, so we are on this screen where it says database folder, log file folder, and SysVol folder. All are located inside C Windows. So database folder is C Windows NTDS, log file is C Windows NTDS, and Windows is SYSVOL. So what are these database log files and SYSVOL folders? So the database folder is like ADDS stores and organizes information about the people, devices, and services connected to a network. So in this database folder, the information about your users and machines and what other services are there, it will be kept. ADDS log files are these log files are the transaction log used to record changes made in ADDS. So if there is any change being made, like a user is created, a user is deleted, modified, so these log files will keep a record of these changes made. All changes are first written to transaction log and eventually make their way into database a short time later. So first, this log files, it will create a transaction log, and then it will move to the database, which is ATDS database. Okay. And what is SysVol folder? So SysVol is a folder located in each domain controller. Now suppose you have multiple domain controllers, so there will be a SysVol folder on each domain controller within the same domain. It consists of the domain public files that need to be accessed by clients and kept synced between DCs. So this sysvol folder is responsible for syncing the data between one domain controller to another domain controller in a particular domain. So what is a domain controller? It is a server. So now suppose you are managing 10 servers, and each has a domain controller installed. The sysvol folder will be there, and it will be used to sync the data between different domain controllers. Okay, so let us move and we click next. You can change this path as well. It is not required now, so we won't do it. Okay, we click next. Okay, before we go next, it is verifying prerequisite. So I've clicked on it. I wanted to show you an interesting thing. So you go previous. So you see, whatever we have done, you can do it with a PowerShell script. So you click on View Script, and you can change your, like, I have given the domain name like this. Okay, install ADDS Forest, install module. So it is the PowerShell code. I'll putting it. Um, this you can also use. Okay, I'll keep it as it is. You can copy it, try it with the PowerShell code. So I'll close it now. You click next, and it will do a prerequisite check. Okay, all prerequisite checks pass successfully. Click install to begin installation. So there is no issues. Now these are some warnings that we are getting. We would check this in another video. This is cryptography LT 4.0. So we'll discuss it later. A delegation to DNS server cannot be done because it is the first DNS server, so let us not touch it. All prerequisite pass successfully. Click on install to begin installation. So you click on install. Now it is installing it. If you have reached so far, the video is interesting. I'm making a sense out there. So I suggest you learn something and you practice on your own. You have to get a machine with at least, I would suggest, 32 gigabyte of RAM, and that would be good to install virtual servers and configure it on your own. There are no limitations, but Active Directory itself is deep, but the basic understanding that we are discussing in this video will help you in understanding the infrastructure of a company, how it works, and sometimes we will do Okta as well. So keep tuned, keep watching videos. Nothing else to say. If you like it, subscribe. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Okay, this server was successfully configured as a domain controller. It says at the top. Okay, I'll make it full screen. So it says the server was successfully configured as a domain controller. You're about to sign out and you need to restart. Okay, now it is restarting on its own. Ta-da. Okay, now once VMware is up, it is rebooting the machine. Applying computer settings. Because I have to configure these labs to for myself to learn. I am learning myself, so I thought it would be a good idea because sharing the information would be good, and maybe if you have more information, more knowledge, so you can comment in the video comments. That will help me and learn as well. If someone is into sale point, I want to learn, but not getting time for it. So if someone knows some online course for sale point, so you can suggest me. That is applying. It will take time because the domain controller is just installed, so it will configure the domain and everything. It will take its own sweet time. Okay, so now the machine is up, and you will notice when I go here and click Control or Delete, it is coming up with ByQ's administrator, which is ByQ's is my domain name and my ID is administrator. So my Active Directory domain services is installed on the machine, right? It will start the server manager. You can find it there. Let us see. It is refreshing right now. So once it is done refreshing, it will show more servers. So you can see it here. ADDS is installed. ADDS is installed. DNS is also installed. We installed DNS services, file storage. Okay. All right. So we have installed the Active Directory. You go to DSA. The command to start. Command to C. Okay. I'll just make how to open Active Directory domain services. Okay. So first is start, run, and the command is dsa.msc. Second option is to you go to administrative tools, active directory, directory, domains, and services. These are the two ways basically that are used to access. So let's see. So I go to start, or maybe you press Windows R and you type dsa.msc, and there it is. Or you can just click on search.msc. You can find it here. It will open, and you go there and DSA. No, sorry. The other way is you go to Start, Windows Administrative Tools, and Active Directory, Users and Computers. Okay, it has installed Active Directory Administrative Center, Active Directory Domains and Trust, that we'll discuss sometime. Active Directory module for PowerShell, Active Directory site and services, Active Directory users and computers. So if you double click on it, you see your domain is configured, right? So this is your domain, bycus.com. So if you right click and go to properties, it will tell you all the information that we set, managed by. Nobody is there for now. So if you see into users, there is one group administrator. If you double click on it and you click cancel, administrator is the user, the which was the local admin for this machine. Default accounts. So we'll discuss all this. Managed services. Okay, look at the computers. What computers are there? No computers. Look at the domain controller, lab PC1. The domain controller is there. Okay. So if you go to users, I'll show you something. Administrator is there. What I should show you. So you see domain admins and you see enterprise admins. If you double click on it, members, you will find that administrator account that was present on the machine earlier, it has become an enterprise administrator. Okay. So enterprise admin is like it can control everything. Now this administrator is the part of the domain users group as well. So it has got control over the domain. Okay. So now suppose I'll create a new user and add him to the enterprise admins role. Okay. So right click and new and user. Maybe I put the name admin user one. This is the name. User logon name would be admin user one. And click next. User must change password at next logon. I don't want to do that right now. And I put the password. Click on next. Fine. So this admin user one is created. Okay. Okay. So this admin user one is created, and if I go to this user, click on member of, so domain users, it is a domain user. So I have to add him to and domain admins and enterprise admins. Domain admins, check name, okay, and I will add it to enterprise admin as well. So enterprise admin, okay, click on apply and click on OK. All right. So this user is created as enterprise admin and I have added him to domain admin as well. So if I go and sign this user out, sign out and go to control alt delete. So it is BikeUse administrator, click on other user. See at the bottom you see sign into BikeUse, which means that your domain is this machine, you're logging to that domain. So admin dot user one. So we created this user, so it will create a profile and it lets you log into the machine. Okay, all right. So okay, so the user with which we logged into the machine is an enterprise user, enterprise admin, as well as Domain admin. So what an enterprise admin is and what a domain admin is. So enterprise admin, because if we remember, we created a forest, right? So so enterprise admin will have admin rights over the root domain, that is forest level. Okay, now what a domain admin is. So what is a forest is a collection. Forest is a collection of domains. Okay, see, forest is a collection of trees and trees, subtrees, domains, different things. So forest is a collection of domains. Try and understand why I'm writing it. So each domain each domain will have its own domain admin role. Okay, so that is the difference between enterprise admin and the domain admin. A domain admin can, because this account is a domain admin, you can create groups. Maybe I try showing some group. Okay, group name, um, new group. Okay, so it would be a security group. We'll discuss all these things. So it is able to create a group. See, new group. It can create a user in this domain, in this particular domain, as it is the enterprise admin as well, so it can go ahead and control all the domains inside this forest. So this was it. We went through installing the Active Directory domain services. One thing I would like to show you is this will say no internet access because it is not able to reach a particular DNS server. So let us try that out. Mm, now go to server manager maybe. Okay, and dashboard local server. You'll see NIC teaming here. Go to go to properties, right? TCP IPv4, go to properties. So loopback address and DNS server is there, right? And we'll try and test it, okay? We'll go to google.com. I'll tell you how to remove the restrictions here as well. So first, yeah, internet is working. So now it is working, all right? And okay, it took some time because we updated the Google DNS. So that was it. Everything is working fine on this server. The domain Active Directory domain services is working on this server. Next time we will install a Windows 10 machine or Windows 11 machine, and we will try to control that machine through the Active Directory. We'll create few users and change the behavior, how they can log on to the machine, and what they can perform. So till then, keep tuned, watch the videos. If you like it, do subscribe it, press the like button. If you don't like it, there is a dislike button already there. You can use it, no problem. Any comments, give it to me. That would help me to learn as well. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. See you in next video.